Hi guys, my name is Lilia Salira, and I would like to share with you guys a little bit more about my journey to Tibet and to when I went to Kora on Mount Kailash. So a little bit backstory. At that moment, my family member were very sick. I tried to help with money. I worked for jobs. I was absolutely miserable and very depressed. I was in therapy, and it just didn't help. Like, just seems like nothing was helping me at the moment to feel better. And I've decided that enough is enough. And if I'm not going to change my life, something bad will happen. And I was 34 at that time. Was 2 years ago, almost year and a half, 2 years ago. Yeah. And I didn't know what should I do with my life. I mean, I'm 34. I'm not a kid anymore. I don't have any family. All I do is try to, stay alive, and somehow I didn't even thought about that being happy is an option. For me, at that moment, staying alive was actually already good enough, I would say. So yeah, that was my state of mind when I decided that I'm going to go to Mountain Kailash. And if you guys, you can go ahead and watch my previous videos where I talked about my Vipassana experience and how that correlates with my Tibet experience. So I did fund a company, and it was a Russian company, and I live in the United States. That I talked to them, and I was like, okay, guys, would you mind if I'll fly over and meet you there? So like, sure, no problem. So they made me a separate permission, because to be able to go to the permission, you will have to go, first of all, you need China visa. So I got a Chinese visa for 10 years, and then permission. Permission is issued separately by the Chinese government in Tibet. Yeah, and so they were like, sure, they were very cool about everything. I was like, can I pay cash when I get there? They're like, sure. So it was just super easy experience. And what's funny is, before that company, I was talking to another one, and in the company I went with, we have 14 people in our tour, and the company I was talking to before that was 60 people. And with that, the first company, I almost signed up for them, and I already bought a ticket to Chengdu to meet them in China. And then they told me that they are not able to make me a separate permit, and you can pay that way. And there was a bunch of problem with payments back then, because it was 2023. I mean, sanctions and all this. And I was trying to figure it out, and I was about to pay them, the first company, and then I couldn't pay it. Like, every time I press pay, it's like my computer will break down, like or something will fail. I mean, it was just weird. I was like, okay, I try to trust the environment. I trust the science. I go by science a lot. And I was like, I guess that's wrong. I guess just I'm not supposed to go with them. And for sure, I mean, a day later, I found that company that I actually didn't even look for it. It's found me more, because I was searching about something on internet, and I found the article on a website. And on the website, the company was called Kailash. I was like, wow, let's see if they have tours. Open the page, and for sure they have tours like a week earlier than the first company. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna hang in Chengdu for a couple more days and go with them. And everything went so smooth and so easy with them. It was just, godsend, seriously. So what I was talking about. So yeah, I decided that it's time to go, and things were looking pretty good. So I went to Chengdu. That was my first stop. I spent a few days in Chengdu in China, and I flew to Tibet. And a lot of people say that because it's such a high elevation, a lot of people like don't feel good there at all. But I live in Wyoming, so I'm on about 5,000 feet anyways. So 10,000 feet, I mean, it's I mean, you can feel it, but nothing bad happened. And I was so scared. Honestly, like, I signed up for a 3-week tour with a 3-day hiking around Mountain Kailash on a very high elevation, 3 days straight with no amenities, no toilets, no, there was a guest houses, but no hotels. Like, guest houses is just a nightmare. And honestly, guys, I am not a hiker at all. I hate hiking. I used to pretend that I do like it, and by me, like, hiking is just like walking. When you go up to the hill, it's already hiking for me, like hardcore. And I asked my friends who are like hikers and mountain ice climbers to take me on a hike because I was trying to prepare myself for that trip. And I thought I'll die. That's how miserable I was. I didn't complain out of loud, but I was complaining to myself. And thank goodness we were stopped by the rangers because they said there is a bear there. And I never was so happy to hear about bear than that day. And I was so scared because I was like, if I cannot do, we went to the Heart Mountain in Kodim. If I cannot do Heart Mountain, if I'm so miserable, how am I going to hike for 3 days around Mountain Kailash? Yep, I was a vegetarian at that point because it just really helped me with my mindset and the stage of my emotions. When I don't eat meat, I feel way better and more stable. Anyways, I was scared. I wasn't sure I'm gonna make it. I was trying to, I talked to the guide. I was like, okay, what if I take the horse? Because you can take the horse to the part of the ways there. And she was like, you know, like, you young, I don't think you'll have any problems. And for sure, I mean, surprisingly, when I landed in Tibet, I just felt like I'm home right away. I felt great. I didn't have any symptoms of the mountain sickness. I felt okay all the time. I keep like listening to myself and wondering like when it's gonna start. And half of our group, and we have 14 people, about like 5 to 7 people constantly went to the doctors. They were throwing up. They had vision problems for some reason. They couldn't breathe. We had a couple things of oxygen that people can use, and they were sitting in a bus just breathing oxygen. And I just felt great all the way. And I was like, okay, I guess, I don't know why, but I'll take it. And the way that our guide did it on the tour itself, there were like, we went 2 weeks up and down, up and down, up and up. So for us to be like, to understand, to our body to get used to the altitude. All the way, I didn't have any problems. I mean, besides one problem, like when we went to one of the monastery and meet with the highest lama of this monastery. And I had a very weird spiritual experience that I will tell you guys in the next video because I don't want to make it too long. So I felt great. I didn't have any problem. I was prepared, but I'm like, in general, I'm a preparer. You can check out my website. It's www.wildreset.com. I make travel itineraries for Yellowstone and Grand Teton areas. So I am a like 100% preparer. I was so prepared. Like, I think like nobody else were as prepared as I was, in clothing and shoes and snacks and everything else. Like, I was just on top of it. And I think it's part of it because I'm so unsure about my own abilities and my body's ability of do things. So I do anything to help myself. And that's one of my strengths. Anyways, it was very interesting. We went to so many monasteries. We met with the friends of our guide. She been there for like 20 times, so she has friends there. And yeah, I was so impressed with the country, and just, it was just great experience overall. I hope I will be back there one day. And as closer we were getting to the Kora, as more nervous I was. I mean, but the thing is, like, I took so there's, you can stay by yourself in a room, or you can take a room with somebody else. And at that moment I was like, I decided that I wanted to spend the nights with other person in the same room, because not because I wanted to save money, it's because I wanted to have somebody with me, because I wasn't sure how I'm going to how that experience will affect me, and I didn't want it to be by myself, because I knew that I'm not in a very good shape in general, like emotionally. So, and I met that woman, and I was so lucky, because turned out that she did Kora twice before, so that was her third one, and we immediately clicked. I Her name is Dinara, and we had so much in common, and she was very kind to me and very supportive. And I was like asking her, I was like, should I go to doctor, should I take any medications? She was like, no, you're doing fine. I would let you know if you will start, giving any signs of something. So yeah, it was just, I'm so happy I met her. And so that and so we went. The first day of Kora, we went through that plateau, gaining an altitude, and the weather was just, oh my god, that was miserable. There was a sun, and then it was rain, and then it will snow, and then it will be sun again. So you like walking, you like take the clothes off, take clothes on, undress, dress. There's a wind. I mean, first day was, I would, yeah, that was quite interesting. And then we came to this place, guest house, and the guest house, so oh my god, it's just, there's no, it was cold, it was September, and it was already like there was a snow, um and it was a guest house like, where we spent the night before going on the Dharmala pass. So that part, the second day, is the hardest day. And during while you walking, there is no restrooms. I mean, if there is the restrooms, you better not to go to those restrooms. I mean, I'm still quite traumatized from it. There is a food there, but because I didn't eat meat, it was very hard to find something for me. I had a bunch of dry food, the camping food that I brought with me. That's what I was eating. And honestly, you just don't even want to eat. I was just, yeah, I wasn't that much of an eater. I just didn't feel like I needed it. But you have to, because it's an altitude, and in altitude you don't feel yourself normal. Anyway, so that guest house is such a nightmare. But the good thing about that was they had a restroom, like normal one, like we used to in our, yeah. But they didn't have any heaters. They only had the heaters that actually was on your bed, and you can plug it in, but they only had electricity for 1 hour. So we did plug it in. They have electricity for a little bit, and you do sleep in your sleeping bag. I brought all the sleeping bag and everything else with me. Yeah, next day we woke up 4:30 in the morning, and we start making our way up to Dharmala Pass. And the weather was awful. Was constantly snowing. And the way to the pass was full of rocks, so people, it's very hard to like step on it. We did have backpacks, and the rest of our staff were actually traveling on yaks. I will add the video so you guys can see it. And if you see the pictures, you're just like going up, straight up, 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 and it does look quite scary. But for me, I did not have any problems. I was just making a little step by step. I was somewhere in the middle of the group, and there is a lot of local Tibetan people going, and even with the very young, tiny kids. And then you're looking at them, I was like, okay, if they can do it, I can do it too. And while I was going up, I felt that I'm doing it not on my physical energy, on my spiritual energy. I was doing it because of the higher purpose. And it actually makes sense why I couldn't do it when I was doing it in as a normal hiker, but over there I was just fine. I knew what I wanted to do. I knew that that will change my life, and it's, spoiler alert, it really did change my life. I learned so much about myself as well during that trip. But not everything was so good, because a lot of people are getting very sick, and there's no way to evacuate anybody, and there's no helicopters, there's no way down. And a couple of our group members were already feeling bad when we were on our last point before the pass, but they've decided that they're gonna come anyways. And one girl, she lost her consciousness on like very close to the pass itself, and she had to be take like our guide give her a shot. I don't know what kind of shot it was, but because I was at that point I was one of the first in the group, because I wanted to spend a little more time on a pass, because on the pass it has very big spiritual significance, so I wanted to, you know, stay there a little longer. And when I came there, she was like, okay, I have to take her down. And she gave me the rest of the medicine. And she was like, okay, since you first, you're gonna just hold this. And yeah, I mean, there was a couple more people, but she said, she gave it to me, and she was like, okay, if something happens, you just help them. And she took, her and another person took that girl down. She was already like pretty unconscious at that point, looked kind of scary too. And I was just sitting there, because the group was, some of the people were like an hour behind. I was sitting there and looking at the mountain Kailash, talking to it about everything what happened to me, and asking for what I came to ask there for. And I felt, you know, some people can say that it's like you feel high almost. I wouldn't say it's high, it's just, you just feel like you're not in this world anymore. You're somewhere in between, and in between of the earth and heaven. I felt like everything I was carrying with myself, all my luggage from this life, the previous lives, from my family, my ancestors, everything I dropped right there. And the Dinara, the woman who was staying with me in the same room, she was there, one of the first two, and I was just like crying, and I like while I was waiting for them. And then for me, it feels like it's been only like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. She told me that I was sitting there for 40 minutes, and I could not believe that. For me, it was just a blink of an eye, and I still remember that feeling, and it was, I never felt anything like that before or after. It was amazing. It was like somebody took a ton of like of your luggage off your shoulder and drop it there, and you feel like you can fly. Seriously, I mean, it's so worth it. So at the on top, after that experience, I already see this a lot of group members are start coming in. Even the girl who was the very last one, we all met at the top, took some pictures, and start making our way back down. Yeah, and it was the second day, and I really, after we went down, it's also very dangerous, was very super slippery. I had a walking sticks, and so a lot of people too. Probably like going down was even more dangerous than going up. So, and the worst part was probably around an hour and a half, and then we came to the first guest house. I didn't want to stay there because I really wanted to make my way to the guest house that we were supposed to spend the night, because I was so ready for a little comfort, and I wanted to find a normal restroom. So yeah, I went and I just pick up some speed, and I end up in that guest house first from our group. And that was something like very funny about it, because that was a brand new 3-story building. And when I saw it from the far, I was like, oh my God, thank goodness. Thank goodness. And I came and I was like, yeah, and they have like a big rooms, beautiful, like, okay. um she gave me a room with the 3 beds, and I can pick my own bed since I was the first. And all I wish for is a shower or even a restroom. And guess what? There was no restrooms there. There was a running water right outside of the building, brand new 3-story building with no running water and no restrooms. You have to go outside. And that was the most disappointing time of my life. I was like, I ran here for that. And I was so pissed. I was like, how can you build something like that and not have running water, which is right outside of your building? I couldn't find an answer, and nobody else can explain it to me, because I don't think there is any logic involved. It's like, it's not that hard. I mean, oh well. Yeah, I was super tired. I couldn't feel my legs. Everything just hurted. All I can do is just to lay down. That's what I did. And another funny thing was just there is ventilation in the room. You know how they made it? It was just a hole in the wall, behind the curtains. And I was like, sitting there, I was like, that's something weird. There's so much wind. I mean, it shouldn't be like that. I opened the curtain, and here we go. It's just like hole. That was a ventilation. Well, don't ask me. I don't know. Yeah, I was so looking forward to have a normal hotel experience. Anyways, I couldn't even eat. All I could do is just lay down. That's how hard it was on my body. And everybody were hurt. Like, we all walk around and see if anybody have a salve for tired muscles. I mean, I had it all, so yeah. And next day was a nicest day. The third day was the nicest day of our Kora. The weather was perfect. It was sunny, it was bright, easy. You just, because now you're going down, it was easy, it was nice. And I finally had my like, I cried all night because of how tired I was. I was just like having I went out, so I won't wake anybody up, so I went outside and I was just like staying there crying. I was like so emotional. And it was more of a relief, because I was so scared of that journey for so long. It took so much of my inner strength to do that. So it was more of a relief, and I felt at that moment that my life is about to change. And yeah, and the third day was just awesome. We came back to our starting point, to Drachen, and I think that's what it's called. And then yeah, had a normal hotel experience. I had my finally shower. I just don't realize how spoiled I am, but yeah, I'm not a camping type of girl. Anyways, that was my experience, and we had a few more days in Tibet. We took the trip to Mountain Everest, and that was amazing too. I mean, Mountain Everest is so beautiful. It's just amazing. Another highlight of our trip. And we did say goodbyes, our goodbyes, and everybody else went to Russia, and I took out to China, where I spent a month. And about China, if you guys interested, I will tell you in another video. It's another like huge topic. If you have any questions about Mountain Kailash, about Tibet, let me know in the comments below. I'll try to answer it, because I think it's amazing journey. And if you decided to go and do that, I will be happily to share any information that I have and my experience with you. Good luck to you guys. My name is Lilia Salira, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.